Hi there, I'm John Trischler with Specialty Performance Parts, and today we're going to go over some of your different fog lighting options to install into a 2019, 18, or 17, and the upcoming 20 eventually here, Raptor. So as you see the Raptor behind us, this is a 2019 Raptor. We have 3 pods on each side. The ones installed into this truck right now are the radiance lights. So we've got our radiance lights right here. We've got our radiance lights right here. And what is unique about the radiance light is that it has a backlight. Now they come in various colors. Now obviously on the Raptor, the color that you want is going to be the color that is going to match your marker lights and your grill lights in the amber backlight. People sometimes get the radiance confused. And what they confuse it with is they confuse it as it's an amber light. It is not an amber light. It has an amber backlight. So you need to think of that more of like a parking light in your headlights. You've got the parking lights come on, they're amber. You turn the headlights on, they're white. The parking lights stay on, so do the amber backlights here. So again, it's just a surround. So it's a cool effect. A lot of people like these lights. And the reason that they like them is because, again, they match the markers and so on. Now, like I was saying, they do come in different colors. And the other color that you might want to use on the Raptor, which we actually have installed in this truck, in the rear is red. So the red backlight then would match with your red taillights and your red marker lights on the back fender flares and so on. So that's an option. The only thing about the Radiance are, they are not the highest output light. They're definitely less expensive than the Pro Series lights. And they are more than ample for the power output that most people want in a normal, everyday driving vehicle. But there is another version of that Radiance light, and that is called the Radiance Scene. They look basically the same here in the boxes. You may not be able to see up close, but the Scene has 4 individual LEDs versus just 1 per pod. So the big difference between these two, the Radiance puts out just around 900 lumens per light. So times 6, that's almost 6,000 lumens total for all 6 lights. The Radiance Scene puts out closer to 3,000 lumens per light. So 3 times 6, you're about 18,000 lumens per light. So this is going to be more in line with your Pro Series lights that are going to have a much higher output of light. So if for those of you that want that effect and you want the most output, then the Radiance Scene might be the way to go. But obviously there's a difference in price. So it's whatever is your primary goal in what you're trying to accomplish with your kit for your truck. Again, you can get the same effect with the regular Radiance if you don't need all that extra light. So I think we've talked enough about the Radiance and the Radiance Scene, so we're going to move those aside real quick. And we're going to move down to our next batch of lights. I'm going to save this one for last because it's new, and you may or may not have seen the video where we actually installed this on the truck, but this is a new kit that we were configuring for the truck. This is the infrared light. I'm gonna save that for last, so I'm just gonna move that here behind, and we'll talk about these others first. All right, our next light is a D-Series Pro Spotlight. So what the Spotlight does is it's going to be a very long and narrow beam. It's aimed to be very long and narrow. So it's going to give you that far distance. Now there is another version of the Spotlight called the Hyper Spot, which will go even further than the regular Spot. It's just a tiny bit more expensive. If you're really trying to get really far away, you can go for the Hyper Spot. But that is what our Spotlight does, and that's another option for our fogs. So we're going to move that aside. Okay. Our next light is our Pro Driving. The Pro Driving is going to give you the brightest output, the most lumens of basically any of the series rigid lights that they have. So it's going to be your brightest. Unlike the regular spotlight, which we didn't mention, that has 4 LEDs, the driving light has 6 LEDs per pod. So it has more LEDs, more output, more power, and so on. It's not going to go nearly as far as the spotlight because that's just long and narrow, but it's going to get pretty far and it's going to have a nice wide range. This is going to be your overall best combination for a kind of everything light. It kind of gives you a little bit of everything. It's as bright as can be. It's pretty far, pretty wide, just kind of the best of everything. So we're going to move that aside. Okay. I think we need to go to this one next because this really kind of complements this driving series light that we have here. The next one we have is the driving series side shooter. This is the same light as this. 6 LEDs, brightest output, and so on. The only difference is the casing's extended here a little bit, the lens extends out a little further, and it has 3 additional LEDs here to the side. So these 3 additional LEDs project out a 90-degree beam in both directions. So now not only do you get that forward power with the brightest, highest output version in the driving series, but you also can get that in the 45-degree shot, or I'm sorry, 90-degree shot to the sides. So that is another application that you can use if you want the most that you can get all the way around. Now, the side shooter light, I'd like to mention as well, does also come in a spot beam pattern and in a flood beam pattern. So you can get the side shooter in other versions, but this particular one just is in the driving series, which is your brightest series. Okay. The next one we're going to talk about real quick is going to be our floodlight. So the floodlight is known to be very wide. It's just going to kind of fill that whole area in front of you, out quite a ways. It's going to project in front, probably 20, 30 feet. It's going to give you a good amount of light just where you're driving, so you can see kind of your surroundings. Not known to go real far. That's what your spotlight's for. But the floodlight is going to be a good general light to just get a lot of light out there. So that's your floodlight. And then we go on to our SAE light. The SAE light is going to be your more street legal compliant light. It meets all the SAE standards for OEM output and so on. So if you want to have a light that you can actually legally drive on the street with, you might want to look at the SAE series as one of your 3 lights. So that's another option. And then that leaves us to our last light here, which we moved aside here to the end. And again, if you haven't seen the other video, you might check it out. This is the infrared light. We're going to try this thing out on the Raptor here. And the cool thing about an infrared light is it's not going to be your typical light where you're getting that white beam and everything lights up and reflects off of. It's again, infrared, so it's going to have a really cool effect at night. If you're a hunter, you want to kind of go stealthy and so on, you can use the infrared lights to kind of see the dark paths and so on and so forth that you may be driving on. So that's going to be a cool effect. But that is the basics of some of your optional lights that you can install on your Raptor. And I hope this has been informative and that this explains a little bit about it. And if you haven't watched the other video, then you might check it out because these lights are going away and this new infrared series is going in. I'm John Trishler. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for new products and new parts coming out all the time.